Have you ever stopped and wondered, where does the light currently streaming through your window, warming your skin, actually come from? It comes from the sun, hundreds of millions of kilometers away, but is its journey as simple as you think? Common sense, the intuition we've developed since childhood by observing objects in motion, would surely tell us that this ray of light has undertaken an incredibly long and arduous journey, wouldn't it? You'd probably picture it as a brilliant bullet of light relentlessly hurtling from the chaotic surface of a distant star through cold, dark, cosmic space for 8 long, drawn-out minutes, only to finally reach your face. But is that the whole truth? It sounds like a beautiful and easy story to accept, doesn't it? However, I'm compelled to reveal a truth that might make you uncomfortable. If you truly believe that scenario, then nature itself is cleverly deceiving us. And I can assure you, nature absolutely delights in tricking our human perception. Now, I want you to try imagining an extreme scenario, a thought experiment that we physicists often enthusiastically test on blackboards, even if it sometimes gives us a headache. Imagine if you could exist and ride on that ray of light, observing the entire universe from the intimate, absolute perspective of a photon. You would be astonished to discover an incredibly astounding truth about the very nature of existence. It's hard to believe, but for the particle of light warming you, the journey we just imagined simply never happened. There was no epic voyage across the solar system, nor any endless cosmic abyss to traverse. And what's both terrifying and most miraculous, from light's intimate perspective, not even a fraction of a millisecond has passed. The moment it was born from the depths of a nuclear reactor and the moment its journey ended upon striking your pupil is, quite literally, a single solitary instant in the universe. The space you perceive out there, along with the time you feel ticking away on your clock, has all contracted to the point of vanishing entirely. For light, the distance from its emission point to its reception point simply doesn't exist. Your clock quite literally doesn't tick. Every event unfolds in a single, entirely simultaneous action. So, the real question you should ask yourself tonight, as you gaze up at the star-filled night sky, stars that may have died out thousands of years ago, isn't how long their faint light took to cross the cosmic abyss and reach your eyes. No, the real question, the one that can strip away the fragile illusion of what we call reality, is far stranger and more captivating than that. You must ask yourself, how can something connect from one end of the universe to the other, with no time passing, space becoming meaningless, and in essence never having moved? I've always believed that we, humans, are creatures of habit, incredibly slow to accept new things. Do you know how uniquely we've evolved on this planet? Here, every object constantly obeys the laws of falling, rolling, colliding, and sliding. So, it's no surprise that our intuition was shaped like that of a primate, always having to calculate each precise leap from branch to ensure survival. And it's from those experiences that our minds designed an incredibly specific yet extremely rigid map of the world. Does that sound familiar to you? Can you picture it? In the mental map we use every day, space is simply a vast, empty stage, an immense, unchanging container where everything unfolds sequentially. And what about time? We often imagine it as the universe's master clock, don't we? Imagine an invisible, relentless ticking machine striking the same precise yet monotonous rhythm for everyone. No matter where you are in the universe or how fast you're moving, that rhythm remains constant. Pretty boring, right? By that logic, 1 second for me must be exactly 1 second for you. Is that true? Sounds perfectly reasonable, doesn't it? And under this practical, comfortable, and familiar view, we often assume light is just another thing moving across that vast, empty stage. Wouldn't you agree? Very fast, yes, but ultimately, it's just a particle on a normal journey like any other object, right? How do you picture a beam of light? We often think of it like a tiny, brilliant fleet of rockets streaking at full speed across a dark ocean, don't we? Consider this, if you switch on a flashlight in the middle of the night, do you instantly picture those tiny energy messengers shooting out from the beam? Those messengers pierce through the cold air in the room, and eventually they crash into the opposite wall. A clear journey, right? They must traverse a real physical distance, and by pure earthly logic, that certainly requires a duration of time. Does this make sense to you? Do you believe that if we had a stopwatch fast and precise enough, we'd always be able to see them cover the distance from one point to another? And you know, our entire lives are built upon this unwavering certainty. Think about it. The way we cross the street, catch a ball in midair, or gaze at distant stars, it's all based on one unshakable idea. That motion always implies a duration of time, isn't it? We blindly believe that travel means leaving the past behind to constantly move towards the future, meter by meter, tiny fraction of a second by tiny fraction of a second. Is this belief truly correct? And perhaps with a touch of arrogance, we assume that light still follows the exact provincial rules we play by here on Earth. We think of it simply as the speed limit of our cosmic highway, the fastest athlete existing on the vast racetrack of the universe. But is that really the case? But I warned you from the start, didn't I? Nature is always far stranger, more subtle and more beautiful than our minds are readily willing to accept. And when we try to force light to fit into the small, familiar framework of everyday human experience, are we missing the deepest and most unsettling secret about our very existence? So what is light, really? It's not just the fastest vehicle you've ever seen on the highway. What makes light so special? It holds a subtle trick capable of shaking and shattering our entire perception of reality. Let's imagine a scenario together. You're driving on a dark highway with no lights whatsoever, and right in front of you, another car is speeding away at a dizzying pace. What would happen if you floored the accelerator, trying to get close to its speed? You'd see that car appear to stand still, barely moving away from you at all. Imagine this, you're going 100 kilometers per hour, and the other car is going 101 kilometers per hour. In your eyes, it would move incredibly slowly, almost as if it were hovering motionless right in front of your windshield. And that's how this world typically operates. This is also how everything makes sense and becomes logical in our brains. Relative speed is calculated by adding or subtracting, depending on which object is chasing which. This is an obvious truth, something we implicitly accept in our daily lives. It's so self-evident that you never stop to question it, do you? But now, I want us to conduct a fascinating thought experiment together. This is a hypothetical game that has haunted me since I was young, as I tried to decipher how nature's hidden gears truly fit together to create this universe. So imagine this. Instead of trying to catch up to a sports car, you build an extraordinary vessel and launch yourself into the vastness of space with the sole goal of chasing a beam of light. You push your ship's throttle to the maximum, propelling it at full speed. You hurtle through space at a terrifying velocity, so fast that the stars around you become mere blurry, elongated streaks of light. You're reaching 99% of the maximum speed the universe allows, hot on the heels of a brilliant photon gliding just ahead of your ship's nose. Your human intuition, the same one you use to catch an apple in midair, would confidently assert that you'd see that beam of light moving away very, very slowly in front of you. You'd see it gliding at a snail's pace, almost within your grasp, wouldn't you? Have you ever wondered what would happen when you look out the window of your spaceship? You would confront one of the most beautiful and chilling paradoxes this universe holds. One thing is certain, the beam of light does not move slowly at all. No matter what speed you're hurtling at, it still zips past you as quickly as if you were just standing still on the sidewalk. Incredible, isn't it? You can chase it at terrifying speeds, but will you ever shorten the relative distance to it by even a millimeter? The answer is never. Take a moment to ponder the profoundness of this paradox. It's truly astonishing. Can you imagine what would happen if you hurtled straight towards a beam of light? Even if you turned your back and fled from it with all your might, the light would still hit you at a constant speed. Why is that? Despite all your efforts, light still approaches you at an unyielding, constant velocity. What does this mean? It seems your motion means nothing at all. Light obeys mysterious rules, defying all the primitive logic we've ever known. It steadfastly refuses to add or subtract its speed from your velocity. A baffling defiance. This was the first crack, a deep and alarming fissure, tearing through our solid wall of belief, shaking even the bulletproof glass of common sense. In the face of this inexplicable rebellion of light, the universe seemed to whisper a terrifying truth into our ears. Our previous understanding of the world had completely collapsed. The pieces of the cosmic puzzle were violently colliding. If the speed of light was an immutable rule, an absolute tyrant that never changed no matter how fast you chased it, then what else in the universe had to give way? When we forced light to maintain its constant speed, defying all predictions, did something grand have to be sacrificed to keep the cosmic scales balanced? And what broke under that unbearable pressure? What was bent to keep light intact? It was the very foundation upon which we stood. For centuries, the universe had been an incredibly orderly and comforting place for humanity. But was that still true? Let's remember Isaac Newton, who gifted us a vision of the universe as a colossal clockwork machine, perfect, cold, and entirely predictable. Impressive, wasn't it? In that classical universe, space was likened to a colossal, rigid and immobile wooden stage, while time played the role of an invisible conductor. With a strict identical rhythm for all the actors, we once believed we had deciphered all the universe's mysteries. But was that truly the case? We often believed we knew the rules of the game, but have you ever wondered, is nature the ultimate arbiter, always beyond our every prediction? In the late 19th century, a brilliant Scottish mind, James Clerk Maxwell, embarked on an ambitious journey to unveil the secrets of the relationship between magnets and electric currents. And he unveiled a magnificent discovery, so beautiful it was breathtaking. He spectacularly demonstrated that the light we see every day is nothing more than electric and magnetic waves intertwining, dancing together in the vacuum of space. However, hidden deep within his great discoveries lurked a haunting detail, a terrifying truth. According to the rules Maxwell established, this light wave was compelled to travel at an absolute, precise and unchangeable velocity no matter what. Regardless of the observer or the source from which it originated, that velocity always remained constant, unwavering. In other words, the speed of light was an absolute constant, unbreakable. And this plunged the scientific community of the time into a crisis, a genuine panic, because this completely contradicted all human experience and intuition about how we chase and interact with objects. In desperation, they tried to invent every possible reason, from invisible substances filling the universe to ghostly currents called ether, just to force light to conform to Newton's old familiar worldview. No one wanted to accept the harsh truth that the very foundation of common sense, of what they believed, was irrevocably cracking. Until then, a special figure emerged, a young clerk, a rebellious thinker, quietly working in a quiet patent office in Switzerland. Albert Einstein, with his groundbreaking thinking, did not try to patch up or salvage that old, outdated stage. Instead, he did what any true researcher must do when faced with a profound mystery, an inexplicable paradox. He bravely looked directly at that anomaly, without flinching, and placed his full trust in what it revealed. And he dared to ask a question both dangerous and brilliant in the entire history of scientific thought. What if light wasn't some strange phenomenon of nature, but actually the only thing in the entire universe that is completely honest, utterly truthful? Einstein realized an astonishing truth. If light stubbornly maintains its speed, no matter how fast you chase it, then the rest of reality itself must distort to compensate for that constancy. To preserve the invariance of light, your own measuring stick must physically contract to maintain that constant velocity, defying all conventional predictions. Did you know that as you accelerate, the hands of your own clock will start to slow down? This was truly a harsh awakening, a profound shock to all of humanity. Imagine we suddenly realized that space and time are not rigid as we once thought, but rather a flexible, elastic, and even surprisingly personal fabric. But listen very carefully to what I'm about to say, because this is the crucial point where most people stop, comforting themselves that they've grasped the secret. We often discuss how time slows down for astronauts traveling at dizzying speeds. We're amazed by that idea, aren't we? But how many are brave enough to push Einstein's theory to its most extreme mathematical and physical limits? Surprisingly, almost no one dares to ask, what would light itself perceive? Are you ready to explore with me to the very edge of the abyss of knowledge? We've somewhat resignedly accepted that if you move incredibly fast, your clock will slow down and the distance ahead of your ship will also shorten. Sounds strange, doesn't it? Exactly, but our brains, no matter how intelligent, still struggle to truly comprehend this. Even though everything seems distorted, there's still a clock ticking, there's still a physical distance we need to cross. Yet nature has a way, both marvelous and cruel, of pushing us into a predicament, especially when we try to push everything to its ultimate limit. I still vividly remember the first time I truly deeply understood this, not just as a dry formula in a textbook, but as a self-evident truth, a meaningful reality. I once asked myself, what would happen if we pushed this incredible strangeness of the universe to its absolute limit? Exactly. So what truly happens when an object reaches that magical, insurmountable threshold of the speed of light? This is the moment the universe completely sheds its veil of mystery, and this discovery is so profound, so utterly counterintuitive, it will take your breath away. Physical science has revealed an astonishing truth to us. When speed reaches the absolute limit of the universe, time doesn't merely slow down. It doesn't just slow down. Time collapses, stopping completely. For any particle traveling at the speed of light, its clock simply stops ticking, utterly silent. It's hard to believe, but for it, the past doesn't exist, the present doesn't flow, and there is absolutely no future awaiting. Imagine this, its entire existence is perpetually frozen in a single, silent, and unending present moment. But it's not just time. Did you know that space also faces a similarly harsh and volatile fate? What happens when you accelerate close to the speed of light? The universe right before your eyes will begin to contract, compressing incredibly tightly. But astonishingly, when you actually reach the threshold of light speed, that contraction isn't just partial, it's complete and absolute. How much does physical space compress itself? It vanishes entirely, becoming absolute nothingness, precisely zero for a photon that has just left the sun's surface. Can you believe that the colossal distance of 150 million kilometers from the sun to your eye simply doesn't exist for a photon? So, what exactly is the dark abyss we perceive in space? It's merely an optical illusion, an experience that only slow, heavy, and matter-bound beings like us humans are subjected to. Do you see how mind-boggling this is? It truly challenges all of our perceptions. Think about this. We've built our entire civilization, our sanity, and all our notions of life on the firm belief that to move, we must traverse physical space and lose an irreversible amount of time. But is that entirely true? And this is the eternal tragedy, a quintessential paradox of our human species. Yet light, the universe's ultimate messenger, the very thing that weaves all our visions of the stars, seems to mock this very human tragedy. For a photon, does the concept of a journey even exist? The answer is no, not at all. It traverses absolute nothingness without moving through time or passing through any space. Why? Because from a photon's perspective, neither of those dimensions exists. Can you believe that where it's born and where its journey ends are precisely the same single point? The moment it's created and the moment it hits your retina, it all happens in the same unified beat, with no delay whatsoever. So light doesn't travel in the way we usually think. It's simply a bridge connecting two events in a universe that challenges everything our eyes believe. And once you've recognized this crack in the fabric of reality, can you ever go back to what you once knew? Certainly not. When everything is turned upside down, you'll have to ask yourself, what then truly remains? Take a moment to ponder, what does this truly mean for all the knowledge and beliefs you once held to be true? Have you ever wondered throughout your life we've placed absolute faith in two seemingly immutable concepts, here and now? Think about it. If you're sitting here, you completely believe that the wall in front of you exists, right? And between you and that wall, there's a tangible distance, a clear physical space that you would need to traverse. If you stand up and walk towards the wall, you're certain that journey will take a specific amount of time, perhaps just a brief second or two. This is the foundational structure of our perception, the solid launch pad from which we define our existence in this universe. But what happens when we truly contemplate light, when we uncover its profound mystery? Those two seemingly immortal pillars will vanish into nothingness right before our eyes. At that point, all traditional notions of absolute physical separation will completely lose their value. Can you truly grasp the boundless grandeur that envelops us? Look up at the night sky and behold the Andromeda galaxy. Your brain will tell you that you are observing an object 2.5 million light years away from us. You will be stunned by the notion of such an immense abyss, and amazed to realize that this stream of light began its journey long before the first human footprints marked the Earth. But is that truly the case? Or is it merely our limited perspective, a beautiful illusion for slow-moving beings drifting through the cosmos? However, with a single ray of light just touching your pupil, the vast space between that distant galaxy and your eyes has never truly existed, and those 2.5 million years have not yet passed. It's not that time passes too quickly, but rather that the very nature of the concept of time has become incredibly absurd. Nor is it that distance has suddenly become incredibly short, but rather that the entire notion of space has completely lost all its inherent value and meaning. Therefore, this demands a radical and powerful restructuring of our thinking. We must acknowledge a truth: space and time are not an eternal stage for the universe, nor are they rigid boxes containing all things. Instead, they are merely a completely subjective experience, a persistent and inherent visual illusion created exclusively by our own inherent slowness. In other words, we are prisoners confined by our own mass. Because as heavy entities composed of matter that can never reach that maximum velocity, we are forced to perceive the universe as a slow-motion film. We are compelled to view space as an enormous barrier and time as an irresistible, endless flow. If you take the time to reflect deeply, you will be astonished by the profound impact of this upheaval. Try to imagine the true universe, the primordial essence that a photon perceives, completely lacks the concepts of space or time. In that universe, would there still be a notion of an unreachable place or a before and after moment? Perhaps throughout the entirety of human history, we have always misread the map of reality. We have mistaken the shadows cast on the cave wall for the true essence of this world. If, by simply reaching a certain velocity, the abyss of space and the burden of time can vanish without a trace, then we are compelled to ask a truly thought-provoking question. So, what truly separates us from the countless other stars in the universe? To truly grasp this madness, do we dare to completely discard the old world map we've always believed in? Instead, we need to construct an entirely new framework of thought, a lens that helps us behold and celebrate the wondrous, mysterious beauty of nature. And to achieve that leap, I want you to temporarily set aside all thoughts of space and time. Do not consider them two separate entities. Forget the enormous empty box we still imagine. And also discard the image of the cosmic clock endlessly ticking in its place. Instead, try to imagine both space and time are unified, interwoven into a single, vast, continuous fabric, a vibrant and unique structure that governs our entire existence. To make it easier to visualize, I'll offer a simple image, a little trick for your imagination, so you can clearly see how this hidden mechanism operates. Try to imagine that in this universe, each of us is allocated a fixed, unchanging motion budget, a constant total speed that we are compelled to continuously expend without a single moment's rest. Right at this moment, as you sit still and believe you are completely motionless, the truth is you are moving at the maximum speed the universe allows. However, your entire cosmic speed budget is being exclusively used to travel through time. You are constantly expending your invisible velocity, drifting towards the future, second by second, minute by minute, without pause. So what changes when you stand up and start to run? According to the immutable rules of this new conceptual framework, to move through physical space, you must borrow a portion of the speed from your very journey through time. Did you know an astonishing fact? The faster you move through space, the slower you progress on your journey into the future. Indeed, your personal clock will begin to tick more slowly. But why don't we perceive this? Simply because as heavy and slow-moving beings, we can hardly notice this tiny theft of time in our daily lives. Yet, there's a special player in this universe, one who holds ultimate power, that is light itself. A photon, it dedicates its entire energy budget, not a single drop spared. And because it has burned all of its cosmic energy on moving through space, it has none left to advance through time. For a photon, its progression into the future is completely frozen. When we view everything through this fresh and surprising lens, we suddenly realize a misconception that has persisted throughout history. What we commonly refer to as the speed of light is actually not a very precise way to describe the nature of things. We are not talking about the speed limit of a physical object moving in a vacuum. Instead, we are talking about the very speed at which reality itself operates and unfolds. This is the ultimate limit of causality in our entire universe. It is the immutable rule that defines the maximum speed at which one event, anywhere in the universe, can influence another event within this grand and unified structure. So, what is a ray of light? It's not a solitary traveler crossing vast, dark abysses to reach your world. In the pure geometry of the universe, the event of a photon being born on a distant star and the event of it striking your retina are completely inseparable. Astonishingly, in the actual mathematics of nature, the total space-time distance between those seemingly distant events is precisely zero. They are intimately touching, as if interwoven in an instantaneous embrace with no distance at all. So what is light? It's not a weary traveler who has traversed an entire vast galaxy. Rather, it is the invisible bridge connecting all things, the miraculous glue that holds reality together, touching 2 points in the universe without ever having to move itself. Have you ever felt mesmerized walking under the night sky and looking up? Have you ever wondered about the meaning of life? I've let myself become completely immersed in that existential vertigo. What has shaped our perception of the world? From a young age, we've been taught that we inhabit a universe so terrifyingly vast and filled with profound loneliness. Just imagine, through a telescope, we gaze upon galactic islands suspended in a pitch-black ocean of nothingness. Is anyone else out there? We feel utterly isolated, as if stranded on a tiny, damp rock, lying alone at the distant edge of the Milky Way.